Hello everyone, welcome to Res Snapper. My name's MJ and this is Snap or Pass, where we look at the brand new cards coming to Marvel Snap each week. This week it's Doom 2099. He's a 4/2. After each turn, add a DoomBot 2099 to a random location if you played exactly one card. And a DoomBot 2099 is also a 4/2, but it has the ongoing ability your other DoomBots and Doom have +1 power. This is super extremely cool and exciting. I'm very excited to talk about it. Hope you guys enjoy the video. You can skip to a particular section you want below, and if you're new, please subscribe. Don't have to do it now. If you enjoy the video, do it later. Just make sure you do it, you person. So let's talk about the spotlight caches that Doom 2099 is in first and foremost. We've got a couple of Series 4 cards here, so in terms of value, this is a weak, sort of a low value week. We got Meek. Stop saying eek! Christ. We've also got Deacon. No. Yeah, so Meek is fine. Meek is good. Like, you know, he's a fine discard card. Not really making the typical discard lists at the moment. I got my ass spanked by Gambit and Grandmaster this morning. It made me feel physically sick because I couldn't get enough stuff onto the board to actually counteract their Gambit. I was playing like Scarlet Spider, Agony, like Penny Parker, Hulkbuster Theatre. So everything I was playing was merging down into one. I was like, God, this is a freaking nightmare. Anyway, that's the discard deck that people are playing at the moment, and it hasn't got Meek in. So, but Daken seems fun. I quite like this variant. He's kind of a cool card. I don't know. I think he's more fun and interesting than really having a place in the meta at the moment. But I think he's alright, and I like this variant, and I shouldn't really put the image of me having dressed up as Daken on the screen again, but there we go, I have. Oh god, it's getting bigger. No! Fine. So, let's talk about the mechanics for Doom. There's lots of interesting stuff going on here. This is a very, surprisingly complex card, and I think it's freaking awesome, just to kind of slightly spoil some future thoughts in the video. But, so, good. Lots of one-syllable words happening in your ears. I think the archetypes that Doom is going to fit into include ongoing. I think that Doom 2099 creates a new archetype, which is the Doom archetype. I think he'll fit into the set power, maybe negative as well, the ramp, Dex, and lockdown as well. So quite a lot of potential opportunities for him. He triggers if you play exactly one card on each turn, and that includes the turn that you actually played Doom 2099. So that's important to note. You just slam him down on 4 or earlier or later, and as long as he's the only card you played, you're at least getting another DoomBot out of it. And so the power on that turn is what, 5, which obviously you're not excited about, but it's obviously going to exponentially grow. But also just bear in mind, like 4/5, like it's not car crash territory of weakness. So yeah, and if you play Doom 2099 on turn 4, which seems pretty feasible and reasonable and typical, and then you just play one card each on the following turns, it's a total of 17 power. So let's talk about the pros. That, expanding on that point, is the equivalent of 417 in stats, but of course wide across the board. And if you happen to play Dr. Doom, because this does work with Dr. Doom, and it does work with standard DoomBots, the wording is very precise and exquisite. And exact. Yeah, I think I was maybe going to say exact then, but I ended up saying exquisite because someone's going to walk in with a tray of Ferrero Rocher, and I don't even know if that is a reference that Americans are going to get. Americans is most of my audience here. Do you guys have Ferrero Rocher? Okay, Americans, let me know in the comments. Do you have dinner parties where people walk in with a pyramid of Ferrero Rochers? I need to know. If you play it with Dr. Doom, it's the equivalent of 1035 of stats. That's absolutely crazed. Is that not mental? Think about it. Okay, yes, 6 cost cards can get quite high power. Let's say you played a 615. Pretty high power, pretty reasonable. You see Gauze hitting that number all the time. That means alongside that you're playing a 420. Yeah? Mad. He gives a huge board presence, so it's good synergy for wide buff cards like Blue Marvel. Also consider things like Dazzler. You're probably going to be able to fill the boards pretty easily, so I think there'll be opportunity in what has traditionally been like a zoo style of deck, but I think Doom kind of mixes some of the elements from Zoo with obviously some of the elements of just playing big cards. So that's really cool. There's lots of opportunities for There's lots of opportunities for synergies, Doom, set power, negative. Like, this guy seems to fit in a lot of decks. I think there's actually quite a few similes can be drawn between Doom 2099 and someone like Thena. Thena fits in lots of decks as long as you've got enough cards to play alongside her and that you don't feel bad about being restricted to playing two. Consider Doom 2099 in the same way. Going to fit in a lot of decks as long as you're only playing one card for the, the turn after you play him. So, yeah, cool. And you can play high power cards on later turns whilst still developing a wider board. So, that seems like, what's that? Like, have your cake and eat it. That's the best of both worlds, right? Cons. He has a low base power and creates wide tokens with lots of opportunities for countering. So because he himself is like obviously a really powerful card and a source of power, it makes him vulnerable to specific counters. And the cards that he generates, they themselves are sort of making themselves targets as well. Cards like Enchantress, who just got a buff, for example, Rogue maybe. So yeah, that's an interesting one to consider. And he limits you to playing one card unless you severely impact yourself by playing more than one card and losing the additional DoomBot 2099, which is a potential 4+ power. I mean, really, if you're playing two cards in a turn, you're essentially limiting yourself from playing a DoomBot, so you lose the 2 base power of the DoomBot. You're losing probably 2 power on the DoomBot itself from the other DoomBots, because you're probably going to have 3, probably. So that's 4, but then you're also missing the 3 extra that he's giving. So you're sort of missing out on 7 power. So you kind of need to consider if the additional, that second card you're playing, is that adding 7 power worth of advantage, or is it adding a different strategical advantage? Lots of interesting considerations. Let's talk about the locations for Doom 2099. I keep calling him Doom. I'm sorry about that. He's not the same as Doom. They're different cards. Yeah? They're not the... Sorry, being patronising. Anyway, good locations. Quite a lot. Crawl, let's try pronouncing this one. It's not that. Yggdrasil. After each turn, give all cards at another location +1 power. This is good because obviously with Doom 2099, you're going to be having a wide board presence, so more often than not, you're certainly going to be able to make use of this location. Also, one of the play patterns to consider with Doom 2099 is he is adding cards to your side at random locations, and bear in mind that could be at the same location that you've got Doom 2099. It's not necessarily going to be another location. What that means is you're gonna need to spread out the cards that you play in your early turns. You definitely want to play them like one at one location, one at another, and then get your Doom down somewhere, because even on that turn 4, if you're doing that, basically you could clog a location up to 3 cards, certainly by turn 4. On turn 5, that location could be completely clogged. Now, the upside is you will get power into that location because you've got 2 cards there that then buff from the later Doom bots, but just something to consider. Anyway, Yggdrasil, you're going to have a wide board, so that's cool. Nowhere prevents you from getting Red Guardianed and the like. Kiln is good because Doom generates resources on the board after turn 4, so you might feel good about that. Quantum Realm is good. I mean, I sort of say it every time, though. There is quite a lot of cards that do well in Quantum Realm these days. But even so, he can splat. It doesn't really matter about the Doom bots or even playing Doom into it, because, of course, their base power is 2. But then you're going to get those buffs from the Doom bots. Panopticon. I always struggle on the pronunciation of Panopticon. Panopticon. Really good. Really, really, really good. Your Doom bots are going to be very juicy over there. What they might end up the game being like 4/8. Around that sort of number. Very tasty. Onslaught Citadel. Very nice. If you can get even 1 or 2 Doombots in there, that really does go. And have some extreme benefits in the other locations. So we love that. And Luke's Bar, you know, you're going to want to be specifically clogging one of the other locations and then be hopeful that you can get a Doombot into Luke's Bar. Cool. But there's some bad ones. There's some horrific ones. Space Throne, truly dog fecal dog shit matter of poo. Poo. Yeah, really bad. I mean, what, you could stick Doom 2099 in there, you're sort of guaranteeing that the DoomBot 2099s are going into the other locations, and like Doom 2099 ticks up, but it's not enough. You're going to end up with like 5 or 6 power in there. Not enough. Isle of Silence, obviously horrific. You can't control where your ongoing DoomBots are going, so that just feels awful. And Central Park, I think, is going to be a bit too cloggy. I think when you see Central Park come up, be worried, because are you just... I mean, is the tactic don't play anything until Doom if you see Central Park come up? Like, bloodyingly maybe. So, anyway, let's talk about the counters. We have got some devilish counters against Doom 2099. The first one let's talk about is Black Widow. She's obviously... Oh, bollocks. I didn't update the slide. I updated the Enchantress, but not the Black Widow.
I updated it.
Black Widow got changed. She's now 3-3.
Why are you still complaining? I've updated the graphic.
Anyway, it's not important anyway, because she adds a 0 cost thing to your hand, innit? That's either a kiss or a bite. Black Widow's bite or Black Widow's kiss. Anyway, it's a 0 cost card. It stops you from drawing cards, and typically it's something that you do generally want to play out. But with Doom 2099, you only want to play 1 card. So essentially, you're shutting down your resource for the rest of the game, which potentially is horrific if you haven't got good stuff in your hand. Especially as you're clogging, if you feel like you have to play that card out, whether it's called a kiss or a bite, it's a -1 and it's more clog on your side, so absolutely horrendous. Rogue, pretty good counter. I mean, she's going to take away one of the ongoing DoomBot 2099's abilities, which could be up to like, what, a -5-ish power. That could be, especially if it's wide, you know, that could be quite transformative to the rest of the location. So, one to consider. Hazmat obviously just grows in value as you are playing more cards. Enchantress has, as I say, just been buffed. She's a 4/6 now, so I think she's going to make a significant impact on whichever location she has played, if that is hitting 1 or more DoomBots. Imagine if that hits a couple of DoomBots in one location. Nightmare. And Red Guardian is a very dirty one, because Red Guardian can, of course, target Doom 2099 himself. So, with that in mind, it does make me ponder if you want to play something like Spider Ham alongside your Doom 2099, or another 1 power card. Don't know what that could possibly be. Maybe you do play it in like a Mr. Negative deck, and you play your Doom 2099 at the Mr. Negative location. There's that consideration. But yes. Right, moving on to key synergies and some deck ideas for you folks. Some key synergies that we've not discussed thus far. I was about to say thus far. That wouldn't have been right. Anyway, Zabu. God, Zabu's great. Imagine getting out a turn 3 Doom 2099. If you can accelerate that Doom out early, or, by the way, get a turn 7, which is actually something we'll discuss on the next slide. We're talking about exponential growth. Proper crazy. Agony, I'm absolutely loving that Agony has really come into her own the last couple of weeks. Listen, guys, let it be heard, let it be said, I was playing Scarlet Spider before it was meta, and then everyone hopped on my bandwagon. You can check out my video, I think it was like the good and bad of Marvel Snap. I uploaded it a couple of weeks ago, and basically I was religiously playing Scarlet Spider for like 2 weeks, and like Nomura stuff and Agony stuff. And now every Snap player in the world saw that video, and they all cottoned on to me, and all the content creators copied me. They were like, oh, you should play Scarlet Spider now. Oh, we actually saw this from Res Snapper, but we're not going to credit him. Nah, obviously that didn't happen. That is a joke, okay? But people are playing Scarlet Spider now, and I realised it first, damn it. I got a gold one. Have you got a gold one? Maybe. Anyway, I should definitely stop being mean to you as the viewer. I think Dazzler we have discussed. I think you're going to be building lots of plump, fluffy, full locations. Don't know why I said plump and fluffy, but yeah, she's going to bed as well. Plump, I think we bloody know why I said plump actually. Anyway, Gilgamesh. You're going to have lots of buffed cards, even if you just consider the Doom 2099. Play that and you've got 1 buffed card. But if you play a final turn Gilgamesh, you're going to have like a couple more. And especially, again, you're going to be playing Gilgamesh in a deck which obviously builds towards a deck with buffed cards. Maybe Silver Sable on your turn 1, Medusa on your turn 2. Medusa I actually quite like with Gilgamesh. and so on and so forth. Doom, we've discussed. Onslaught, we've not discussed. Very interesting card. We'll maybe talk about him a bit more when we come on to the Onslaught deck that I've got. But first of all, let's talk about Doom Rules All. This is my core Doom deck offering that I'm suggesting to you guys. In our early game, we play stuff like Zabu, hopefully Agony, maybe Ivor we're going to get a little bit of a discount. We've only got a couple of 4-cost cards in this deck, but they could be particularly impactful to play down early, especially Doom 2099. Otherwise, you play the Agony and get make some extra room and potentially buff a card for Gilgamesh, because Gilgamesh is in here as well. You turn 2, you either into the Medusa or Mirage. Mirage is potentially going to give you a buffed card. Hopefully, though, your curve is actually Medusa into Surtur. Now, this deck I did create before Alioth's nerf, and so this deck has taken a small hit, but I would encourage you to say, guys, let's bear in mind, even if you only play one 10 power card, please let's remember that Surtur is still a 3/7. It's not like that's bad. Okay, and it's another buff, and it's just something that works with the rest of the deck. We've also got Crossbones, but ideally you do want to be playing Doom on either turn 3 or turn 4. Then your turn 5 can look like an arrow, a really nicely disruptive arrow, or you can get down a Vision, or you can get down the Gilgamesh. If the Gilgamesh is going to hit Surtur as well, might as well get it down just for some extra large power, and then maybe you can better rely on the Alioth, or the Doctor Doom is going to be enough to just make you go bananas on the final turn. Because even if you've just, let's just say you've played the Surtur and then the Doom, and then you've played a Crossbones or a Gilgamesh or something, that Gilgamesh location or the Crossbones location or whatever it is, that really tall location is massive. And yeah, sure, they can Shang-Chi it, but if they're Shang-Chi in it, boom, you just play down a Doom. You're getting the 3 cards from Doom, the additional DoomBot 2099, and the buffs for all of those cards that you've just played, and all of the Doombots that you already had on the board. You're going massive. Them Shang-Chiing you is not going to be enough. So it's crazy. Now, let's talk about the Onslaught 2099 deck. This is an ongoing deck, so we've got lots of ongoing cards. We've got the likes of Howard the Duck, only one 1-cost card in the deck. Dazzler, Goose, so we're locking them down a little bit because we can get those nice big DoomBot 2099s potentially into the Goose location. And then we've got some stuff that we would like to see be doubled by Onslaught, the likes of Omega Red particularly. Captain America, even that would be good. Claw, allow you to really go super tall in one location. Hopefully Goose locks down another. And then the end of the game is either going to be, like, you've got loads of win conditions here. Either Doom, just crazy in itself, Spectrum, or Onslaught. So you've got lots of different options depending on quite how the game is shaken out. Like your turn 5, maybe you actually do need to forego one of the Doombots in order to get down a little combo of like Cosmo and Goose or something to like, with the intention that you, I don't know, strategical advantages, etc. And then finally, now this is a weird one, doesn't need explaining, Negative Doom. This is a negative deck, but it is a negative deck the likes of which we've not seen before, where you're kind of like saying, oh, I'm probably only playing 1 card per turn. So we haven't got Jane Foster in here. We don't want to draw our cards. We don't want to. We just want a little bit of extra potential explosive action that we can then just still benefit from the Doom 2099. I mean, it might be bad, but let's talk about it. So we've got Zabu and Ravonna in here to hopefully ramp out either Mr. Negative or Doom 2099. Absolute awesomeness. And then after you've played your Doom 2099 or your Negative, because hopefully you hit one of them by turn 3, your sequential turn 4s can be really impactful things, like a really impactful Sage. You can then maybe even do a Zola on Sage if you're lucky with Doombot placement. You can hit a Gore into Arnim Zola. Again, there's some potential lucky. If you're the Zola is a bit awkward in here because you need to get lucky with the Doom placement. But I mean, don't forget, guys. Just be conscious of it. You could play a Doom, and then you could play a Mr. Negative on 3, a Doom on 4. And then if you're lucky, you'll be able to do the crazy combo-ness of Arnim Zola on the Doom 2099. I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, it'll be an interesting one. I don't think this is the best deck here, but there we go. I've said that now. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the actual numbers of this, guys. Because the number of this card, this person who is encapsulated in a card in the Marvel Snap card game, which is digital, and you can play it on like devices. Turn by turn. This is just so fucking shit. Turn by turn, Doom 2099. Right, if you play Doctor Doom 2099, it's not even called that. This video is absolutely imploding. If you play Doom 2099 on turn 4, which I feel is basically pretty typical of this card, you'll probably and hopefully be playing him on turn 4. He's a equivalent of a 417 in stats. He himself is 5 power, and then the DoomBots are all 4. This is, of course, if you don't get disrupted, all that sort of thing. But this is wild. Like, this is just a huge amount of power. If, however, you played him on turn 3 via shenanigans, energy, you know, Psylocke is a card that we haven't discussed, but that might be a good one to play via Psylocke or other effects, negative, etc., etc. Or there's a turn 7, so Limbo, you played magic on turn 3 or whatever. He's 26 power. Like, across the board. Like, that's just wild. And there will be rare occasions where not only do you play him on turn 3, but there is also a turn 7. Like, that can happen. That's absolutely fine, that can happen. Then he's a 37 power. He's contributing 37 power with, what, 6 cards? So you've still got half your spaces left to even use. Absolutely. Well, it just seems mental, guys. He seems so good to me. So star ratings, overall, giving him 5 stars. I think he's completely solid. Yes, there is, you know, it's not like he's completely impervious to things. There are downsides. Especially consider clog locations, consider your opponent clogging. These types of things are going to be pretty devastating for Doom. I mean, I tried playing a Cerebro deck this morning. What did I come across? I came across Savage Land, which was just not helpful for my Cerebro 3 deck. I came across Monster Island. I mean, this isn't to do with locations or difficulty, but I did come across a Yondu who turn 1 killed my Cerebro and I quit. Sometimes locations make things extremely difficult, and the fact that he has got lots of counters and lots of ability to disrupt him does make him a bit more complicated and difficult. But I still think there's just so much opportunity for this guy. He can go so wide and so tall that I think it's going to be an impressive card. So overall 5. I think in the archetypes that he is going to fit well in, I think he'll be like a 4.5 star card. I think he'll be pretty much a staple, like an important aspect of those decks. Like in those decks, if you don't pull the Doom 2099, you probably do feel quite a lot bloody significantly worse. In terms of fun, I have only given him 3.5. I think, like, yeah, he's adding DoomBots to locations, but yeah, maybe it'll be one that we'll need to get our hands on and actually play first before we really can get the best idea of him. And from a competitive side, yeah, I think he's 5 stars. Like, I do think he's going to be really strong, and I do think he's certainly going to be a card that everyone's going to be playing. So overall, is it a snap or pass? Yes, he is a snap. I am opening Spotlight caches this week to try and get him. If I get that Dakan variant, I won't be upset. I think that'll be fine. So ideally for me, Dakan variant in 1, and then maybe the Doom 2099 in 2. That being said, if I pull Doom 2099 in 1, I will stop there, fine. I will say, shout out to the variant. This Marvel Rivals variant is just unbelievable. I sort of wish that I could get it. I honestly think it's so good. I love the Rivals cards. But I'm already going in for a couple of the variants, or one. I'm sort of undecided on Rocket and Groot, guys. I need to consider if I can justify wailing, just wailing so hard this month to try and get the Rocket and Groot variant as well. I've got a few weeks to decide. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thankfully, you'll probably be very joyous and throw a party now that this is over. We'll see you next time.